And because of his inspiration, I am inspired to write this book, Human Psychology. And he has edited this book also, and I have also got chance to edit his book. This is Teacher Education and Modernization in Nepal.
Okay.
Like this.
Professor, if you can give me a little background about teacher education in Nepal, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Are there like training institutions for teachers, teacher training institutes?
Yes. We have under Tribhuvan University, we have College of Education. That is also called the Institute of Education. The Institute of Education under Tribhuvan University is totally responsible for publishing all types of teachers in Nepal.
Teacher training?
Teachers training.
Okay.
So, with the request of the UNESCO, we have started, calling teacher education, not teachers training, for the last 10 years. So, with the consideration of the importance of teacher education course book, still we do not have teacher education's master's level course book regarding the history of teachers education, types of teachers. I have thought 3 years back to write a book on teacher education with reference to the courses of the master's levels of teachers, in other words, teachers training. So this is the book. Recently, during our outbook lockdown days, I have completed this book.
Oh, during lockdown?
Yeah. Because for the last 2 years, we are having problems going regularly to the colleges and schools. So during
now the schools have started, no? Physical classes.
Now. This is all about the teacher education, history of teacher education in Nepal. So going through the content, you can have all types of teachers training program in Nepal. So this time actually we wish to have a good relation with teacher education college in Sri Lanka.
My book for you.
Human psychology. The surgery of human behavior.
So he has become he is not a student of psychology, but he has become very fond of human psychology. This is his really wonderful contribution. Not being the student of psychology, he was able to publish a book on human psychology with his in-depth study.
So what can the embassy, what we want the embassy to do in?
We have drafted one proposal. I think instead of just explaining, can you go to read?
Right. Okay, right. September 10, 2021, Friday, to Her Excellency Himalee Arunatilaka, the Ambassador of Sri Lanka to Nepal, proposal, title.
This is just a draft for the draft thinking, yeah.
First draft. And we need your suggestion, and then only it will be proceeded. Just draft. Title: Exchange Visit of Professors, Philosophers, Authors, and Expertise of Sri Lanka and Nepal. Title. Abstract.
Yes, go ahead.
The key abstract of this visit is to show the way who are socially, economically, spiritually, educationally, morally backward in Nepal and Sri Lanka in order to develop the overall development of Nepal and Sri Lanka. Introduction or background. Professors, diplomats, philosophers, authors, and expertise of different sectors of any nations are the valuable ornaments of any nations. The opinions, experience, grief, happiness, challenges, achievement, struggle, dignity, work, problems, daily routine, art of living, and overall life of professors, philosophers, authors, and expertise of Sri Lanka and Nepal should be shared among the people of Sri Lanka and Nepal. Other organizations and friends may have been doing this work, but we did not know that. We want to this work for the development of Sri Lanka and Nepal. Objective: first, the key objective or the key abstract of this visit is to establish diplomatic and friendly relations among professors, philosophers, authors, and expertise of Sri Lanka and Nepal. Second objective: the objective of this visit is to show the way to the backward class of Nepal and Sri Lanka who are socially, economically, spiritually, educationally, and morally backward in Nepal and Sri Lanka in order to develop the overall development of Nepal and Sri Lanka. Proposed third, its purpose is to exchange the views of professors, philosophers, authors, and expertise of Sri Lanka and Nepal. Main function: international talk program will be done between different people from different areas of Sri Lanka and Nepal. Sponsored by universities, colleges, and local governments of Nepal and Sri Lanka. Benefits, importance, justification, and scope of this study. The people of Nepal and Sri Lanka can get advantages from international professors, philosophers, authors, and expertise in order to upgrade their life. Second benefit, it can create a friendly relationship among professors, diplomats, professors, authors, and expertise of Sri Lanka and Nepal. Yours sincerely, Professor Dr. Uttam Krishna Karmacharya, Director, Dr. Ivamura Memorial Hospital, Bhaktapur, Nepal, Executive Director, Ivamura College, Bhaktapur, Nepal. Thank you, and I am sharing this information on behalf of Professor Dr. Uttam Krishna Karmacharya. Thank you.
So actually, with our former ambassadors, we started proposal for the exchange visit with the university professors. By the way, they transferred, and because of this lockdown, 2 years of disturbances, we could not continue. They have sent some proposals to the university also. So today, especially, we are interested to continue our visiting exchange visit program with the Sri Lankan universities, and the Sri Lankan university professors also can visit Nepal under Trivan University, and for this visit program we can coordinate as a retired professor of the Trivan University. Number one purpose today. Number second is you have a very good Sri Lanka Nepal Development Association, and actually annually you publish one bulletin.
No.
Sri Lankan Embassy.
YouTube video.
No, not only video.
I think earlier we used to have a newsletter.
Newsletters and the former ambassadors were interested to involve us in that publication. In the publication.
I'm not aware of.
Oh, you were not so.
You mean like a book?
Like a book, yeah, annual reporting, annual.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. Well, if you have some other bulletins and other document, we can share. The another purpose of our visit is to have your interview regarding the development of Sri Lanka and have a interaction with the students regarding the development of Sri Lanka and diplomatic relations with Sri Lanka and Nepal. Plus, for the last 10 years or for the last 15 years, your involvement for the promotion of or the development of Nepal through the Sri Lankan assistance. We know that in Sri Lanka there are so many students studying in health sector also.
Yes.
Yes. So this way we wish to invite you to have an interaction program with our college students regarding the promotion of Sri Lanka, relation with the Sri Lanka and Nepal, and develop the exchange visit program with the professors and the universities.
Yeah, if I may give you my initial reaction to the proposal with regard to exchange of professors and
Authors.
others.
Expertise.
It has to, there has to be engagement between two institutions, first of all. So maybe from your end, the Tribhuvan University can put forward with their views and maybe the subject areas or fields in which they are interested. Because when you say exchange, we have to, it can't be, it's I would say this is very broad. So we have to bring it to be more specific for us to be able to, I mean, that will facilitate us to operationalize, if I may put it like that. So I think first of all, it will be good to have a proposal from the Tribhuvan University, maybe from the dean of that particular field.
Dean of different faculties. Yes.
Yeah, different faculty, depending on which faculties you are interested in. And then we can, if you have an idea of any particular Sri Lankan university you wish to engage with, or if not, we can suggest depending on the subject areas. So that is one. Sorry, may I have a look at the
proposal?
Yeah.
This is for you. For you, yes, you can have it. This is just a brainstorming proposal.
Professors, philosophers. Oh, that's very, very broad. Authors and expertise, okay. Actually, the Nepal Academy, you know, they are also into very much promoting literary interactions and interactions between authors and writers. And not last year, I think 2019, we had 2 authors from Sri Lanka that came. They came for a program organized by the Nepal Academy, but of course after that, because of the pandemic, nothing much has happened. So like that, there has to be a institutional mechanism to organize such exchanges.
Right.
Otherwise, it will, I doubt very much it will happen, because at individual level, it is very difficult for us to coordinate that. So it's better when it comes from within the framework of a institution. It can be either like Nepal Academy, some institution like that, or university.
Or University, or other universities.
Yeah.
This time we can focus especially on the professional levels.
Yes.
To
start with maybe, let's start with one.
Yeah.
What do you mean by backward class of Nepal and Sri Lanka?
The people who are marginalized, who are
Okay.
poor in terms of education, in terms of thought, in terms
Disadvantage,
of
you mean
civilization,
disadvantage, yes.
disadvantaged group.
Disadvantage.
Right.
Yeah. In
Ah,
Sri
okay,
Lanka
so-
also they have, and we have also that type of groups, yes.
So what you want to say here is to show them, I'm not very sure this second objective, to show the way to the backward class of Nepal and Sri Lanka
Yeah.
in order to develop the overall
To know the
development.
situation of the backward societies,
Ah,
backward
right,
classes
right.
uh, of Sri Lanka as well as
Backward
of
classes,
Nepal. Yes.
backward people in terms of education, in terms of finance, in terms of thought, like this.
Okay. Views of professors, yeah, so that's again
You're right.
better to have it within an institutional framework.
Yes.
Then it's, I'm saying that it's from the embassy side particularly. I don't know about the civil society association.
No, no, we,
But from us,
for this purpose, we can have discussions with the faculty of education and with the dean.
Yeah.
They can develop. Yes.
for us to be able to even write to university or institution in Sri Lanka, we have to have something from a similar institute in
Right,
Nepal.
right.
Otherwise,
Yes.
they will not take us seriously otherwise, to be
Right.
quite honest. Because it will be too broad and too vague
Right,
also.
yeah.
You know, so it's better to be very specific
Very
and,
specific. Yes, yes.
and action oriented.
And this time, actually speaking, we are interested, Mr. Basnet and me, regarding the relations with the teacher education colleges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
To
will
know the
be.
status of teachers education
In Sri Lanka, we call them, we have a
Yeah.
teacher training
Yeah,
institute.
teachers training institute.
Yeah, that
Do
will
you
be-
also call college of education in Sri Lanka?
No, we call them teacher training institutes
Yeah.
or training colleges also,
Colleges.
where they specifically train teachers to, like teaching methods and
Pedagogy.
Yeah,
Pedagogy,
yeah.
yes.
pedagogy. Yeah.
So how many years of teachers trainings in Sri Lanka do you have?
You mean the courses?
Your courses?
I think it depends depending on the subjects. I'm sorry to say I don't have all the details.
Right.
But I think the number of years that you have to undergo training depends on the subjects
Because in Nepal,
and the levels.
primary teachers, they must have 2 years of teachers training program.
All right.
And secondary school teachers should have 3 years of teachers training program. And secondary school teachers should have 4 years of teachers
So
training.
all teachers have to go through this college of.
Yes.
Okay.
It was mandatory before 10 years,
Mhm.
but it is nowadays not so mandatory. But teachers training is very compulsory.
Okay. In Sri Lanka, it is not so because we have two streams. One is graduate, we call them graduate teachers, those who undergo university education, and then they can apply for teaching positions. So they don't go through the training colleges. Then there are others who go through the teacher training institutes, and they are called trained teachers.
Yes.
So there are two groups of teachers in Sri Lanka.
As a
And
As
here,
an
ladies and
interviewer,
gentlemen,
yeah.
today I am with Her Excellency Himalee Arunatilaka, and she is the ambassador of Sri Lanka to Nepal. And today I am going to ask generally 2 or 3 questions to her. Her Excellency, I like to ask some questions to you in a friendly way. How you enter in the field of diplomatic relation, diplomatic affair like this? How?
Actually, I must thank my father for that. He's the one who encouraged me to enter the diplomatic service. In Sri Lanka, there is a island-wide open exam, and applications are called from young graduates who are interested in international affairs. There's an exam that you have to sit, and once you are selected from that exam, then you are called for an interview, and that is how officers are selected. So I was fortunate enough to be selected in 1998, which is when I entered the Sri Lanka Foreign Service. And actually it's thanks to my father that I became interested and was encouraged by him to enter the Foreign Service, Sri Lanka Foreign Service.
I think you must be a lucky lady or woman because of your job.
Well, yes, I think to people looking from outside, it looks like a very glamorous kind of job. But I would say it's like any other public servants, any other government service job, you know. You are working for your country and you are paid by the taxpayers of your country. And of course the difference is that you represent your country in other countries. So which gives you a certain sense of very, I would say, sense of satisfaction. To be representing your country abroad, it's a huge opportunity.
As an ambassador of Sri Lanka to Nepal, what is the diplomatic relation between Nepal and Sri Lanka in your personal experiences?
Even before I came here, I knew a little bit about Nepal and Sri Lanka's relations with Nepal, because our relationship goes back actually to ancient times, to the time of Lord Buddha.
Right.
And particularly the cultural and religious links have been very strong. And of course the formal diplomatic relations were established in 1957, but our cooperation and interaction between our peoples go back much further. So I would say it's a historically long relationship.
Right.
And even now, that firm foundation of friendship has helped us to maintain very cordial relations between our two countries. I think we have never had any bilateral issues between our two countries, because the cultural links are very strong. And even now, people in Sri Lanka think of or talk about Nepal as the land of Lord Buddha, birth of Lord Buddha. So they have a very special place in their heart for Nepal. If I talk a little bit about the current relations, from the embassy side, at least since I came, we have been trying very hard to promote the economic relations between the two countries. Because although we have very strong cultural links, the economic ties have not been that much developed. I think it is also due to the internal issues in both our countries. Both our countries have gone through conflict periods. So those circumstances have not allowed, I think, the business linkages to develop very much. But at least now, we are trying very hard to promote, and also particularly to get the private sectors of the two countries to talk to each other and have more business engagement. And I'm happy to say that as of 31st August, Sri Lankan Airlines is flying direct from Colombo to Kathmandu. So that will be a big boost for trade relations to grow, and also for even further strengthening the very friendly relations between the two peoples of our countries.
How do you feel to talk with Nepalese people during these pandemic situations, in this situation?
Unfortunately, the pandemic has prevented us from actually going out and meeting a lot of people and having that personal interaction. But despite that, I have, before the pandemic started, I have had some interactions, and of course in between when there have not been lockdowns. But we have also found this wonderful thing called the webinars. So virtual meetings have become like the order of the day now. And I must say that I'm very happy to have been able to interact with. There are a number of think tanks, very renowned think tanks in Kathmandu, and with, of course, senior officials in the Nepali government. Of course, as I said, it's been a little difficult to meet the ordinary Nepali people because of the restrictions, because that's how you get a real feel of the country. But regardless of all that, I think my experience here has been very positive in my view.
Okay, Her Excellency, now finally I am going to ask only one question to you. What thing do you want from the Nepalese politicians, Nepalese professors, diplomats, Nepalese expertise, authors? What things do you want, and what things the Sri Lanka want?
As I said, we have been trying very much to bring closer economic relations. So, I mean, this is what I have been focusing on in all my interactions, be it with political leaders, with senior officials, businessmen. So, I would like to see more the trade between our two countries to grow, and there to be more business interaction, because after all, business is what drives economic growth, you know, and that is the real bread and butter for any country. So economic growth is very important, and that is what I would like to see at the end of my career, to see the volume of bilateral trade to go up, and also the number of Sri Lankans and Nepalis visiting each other to be increased.
Thank you very much,
Finally,
Her Excellency,
Mr. Basnet, may I,
for your valuable time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Basnet, may I request our Excellency to explain something about the teacher education program of Sri Lanka?
Yes, as I said, there are
In a very short, yes.
two types of teachers. One is the graduate teachers, which is graduates who graduate from Sri Lankan government universities. When they go into the teaching service, there is actually education service in Sri Lanka. So they are called graduate teachers. Then there are others who don't go through the university system, but who can, after they leave secondary school, after they finish secondary school, they can opt for teacher training at teacher training colleges, and after a number of years they are trained in teaching a particular subject, and they are called trained teachers. So there are those two types of teachers.
Is there obligatory to be teachers training compulsory?
Not really. As I said, if you go through the university system, you can be a teacher, but those who, it's very competitive to enter into government universities in Sri Lanka. So not everyone get the opportunity, but one of the options to find a job is in the teaching service is to go through the training colleges. Yeah.
So this is compulsory.
Well, it's, when you say compulsory, it's an option. If you want to be a teacher, that is one option, to go to the training college. Other one is, if you graduate in a certain subject, you can become a teacher.
You mean in Sri Lanka the government has not made obligatory, compulsory to be a trained teachers?
No, it's an option. Yes.
Not compulsory.
It was compulsory in Nepal, but now it is relaxing. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
it is so. In order to be a permanent teacher, teachers training was compulsory. In order to be promote the level of teachers from primary to secondary, the teachers training was made compulsory. Even for the headmasters and principals, one time it was made compulsory. 3 years of teachers training program for them also.